Hey guys, my name is Steve, it's Heroine's Corner, welcome back to my channel, and today I want to talk about book reviews, book arcs, and what's happening in publishing. I don't want this discussion to be about like book arc envy, because that's a very different type of discussion. So this video was basically inspired by a Twitter thread last week, and this Twitter thread was written by Okachukwu Nzelu, and if you don't know, he is a Black British writer. He came out with a new release earlier this year called Here Again Now. He wrote a Twitter thread about book reviewers and about who was reviewing his new release. So I think I'm just going to like read the thread so you get like the entire context of what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I try not to moan because by and large I feel happy and lucky to do the work I do, but I've published 2 novels about Black British people, both reviewed, often very nicely, in major national papers, but never once, as far as I know, by a Black person in a national paper. This is frustrating because those nationals absolutely have the resources to make this happen, but either they aren't trying hard enough or Black reviewers don't like/trust them, or the editors don't realize it matters, and it does. Let me be clear, I really want everyone to be able to enjoy my books. I've had people from loads of different backgrounds engage with my work, and this makes me so happy. My first book in particular was written to reflect the diversity of the city I grew up in, but it matters because it's disappointing to me that national publications with money and resources don't bother to acknowledge, let alone celebrate, the Blackness of my books about Black British people written by a Black British person. Imagine spending years writing a book about Black people and having not one reviewer with a national platform to speak to Black people about it for you, to discuss shared experiences and give context, to critique from a point of personal experience, or just to be Black. It's not about getting a nice review, which I don't need, and I've had some wonderful exposure for which I am, again, grateful. But let's be clear, writing, publishing, and reviewing are not apolitical, and it's about time we were honest about that. Finally, thank you to everyone who's engaged thoughtfully with my work in any way, big or small. I am doing this for you. So that was the thread, and it was very lovely to see this thread actually pop up on my timeline, because I have very similar thoughts and feelings about book reviewing, but from, the book reviewing side. While the thread is about book reviewers, national papers, and all that stuff, I do want to kind of pivot towards the book arc discussion, because that's a discussion that I've been wanting to have for a while, and I feel like it kind of links in with his thread about who is reviewing his books. I think we can also ask the question, who is receiving certain types of books to then go on and review on their platforms. Now, let me just say straight out, I get book arcs. I talk about book arcs on my channel, so it's not like I've never gone to book arc before, and I appreciate that that is a very kind of privileged place for me to be in as a book reviewer. And I understand that not everyone in this kind of bookish community, white, Black, or brown, has that like sort of privilege, so I understand that. Just because sometimes I get book arcs doesn't mean that I don't see like the general like weirdness that surrounds book arcs. I wanted to talk about this for a while, but it's really like this thread that made me be like, okay, let me talk about it and not try to feel any type of way about it. Like, this is just straight up my opinion, my thoughts. When it comes to book arcs and new releases and giving books to book reviews to talk about, I don't think it's controversial to say that like if a book is a Black British book, you should be prioritizing Black British reviewers to talk about the book. That shouldn't be controversial. Like, is that controversial? It's not controversial, because as Nzelu says, that you sometimes need the person from that specific background to give context to the story, to give a critique to the story from a very like personal experience perspective that a white reviewer or a like different reviewer won't be able to give. So yeah, like, not to beat around the bush, sometimes when I see Black British books being released, new releases, and I see certain people getting the book arcs, I can be a bit like, okay, where's my book arc? And that's not to say like I feel entitled to a book arc. There's not many Black British booktubers on the platform, and there's not many Black British booktubers actively talking about Black British books like consistently. So this is going to make me sound like so up myself, isn't it? But I don't feel like it's weird, or I don't feel like it's out of the ballpark to be like, oh, I wonder why I didn't receive an arc. Like, I just have those feelings, you know what I mean? And again, this is why I don't really like talking about it, because I know that there's going to be some people who watch this video and be like, she feels like she's entitled to books just because like she's a Black British booktuber. It's not about that. It's about, I'm in this space. I'm actively in this space. And sometimes I wonder why it feels like it's a bit weird. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a bit odd. If you understand it, you understand it. If you don't, you don't. It's just odd. It's a bit funny to me when I see certain things like that. And honestly, like, sometimes I really do feel like it's up to certain reviewers, mainly white reviewers, to kind of just, I don't want to say like speak up, but it's about understanding like your space and the space that you have, and the space you kind of share with your fellow book reviewers, book fluencers, whatever, and understanding that you have a lot of space. You take up a lot of space, and sometimes you don't need to take up that much space when it comes to reviewing certain books. Now, that isn't me saying that if you're a white booktuber, if you're a white book fluencer or whatever, that you need to be like rejecting any books that aren't white that you get as arcs. It would go far. Like, I feel like if certain people just acknowledge the space that they take up, I feel like it would go far. Like, that, just that acknowledgement would have influence, would have effect. And there's going to be people who watch this video and be like, what are you talking about? I'm just complaining to complain. But as Nzulu says, like, this does matter. And book reviewing, book writing, book publishing, whatever, these aren't like apolitical spaces. Like, and I don't know why anyone would think that. How big is this issue? I don't know, you tell me. But I feel like I can complain about this. I can complain about this. I've been in this space for a while now, not just with my booktube channel. I've done book blogging before in the past. So I'm going to complain about it because it's a thing that I see consistently happening. And I feel like this isn't like a big, overwhelming, monumental change that publishing needs to do. It's very easy to just kind of find Black book reviewers to talk about Black books. This isn't just a specific issue when it comes to Black books. Like, this could apply to like basically any non-white books that are being published. But like, it's kind of easy to find Black book fluencers, you know what I mean? It's not very hard. When you type in Black British booktuber, I will pop up. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm invisible. I know I'm not invisible because I do get people from publishing that find me. But it does feel like you are invisible when like the publishing industry, whatever, doesn't want to interact with that kind of side of the community, bar, you know, a few exceptions. It just kind of feels like, it just feels like you're invisible when you know you're not invisible, but like you're kind of being ignored. I don't know. And it's very interesting that Nzulu talks about Black readers probably not liking or not trusting like national publications, and it's probably because like those publications do not foster a welcoming and warm environment for Black, you know, reviewers and so on and so forth. We don't need to get into the microaggression conversation because that's been known. If we're going to be having these discussions about books and whatever, we can very much have the conversations about the political side, about the discrepancies and the disparities. We can have that conversation too, and that shouldn't be just something that's kind of swept under the rug. At the end of the day, Nzulu's books deserve to be reviewed by Black British reviewers in the national papers, and that's not controversial, and that's something that should be happening, and should be happening across the board. And it's kind of sad that he had to like talk about this in a Twitter thread, and it had to be kind of brought up. Like, that shouldn't be happening in 2022. I wanted to bring attention to it on my channel because I saw it and it just really resonated with me. Like, even though I'm not an author, I'm not a book reviewer with a national platform, it still kind of got to me like, yeah, I have those similar feelings of frustration on a smaller kind of level on my smaller platform, but I still wanted to talk about it and bring it up. And I've been wanting to bring it up for a while. Like, honestly guys, I've been wanting to talk about this since like a year. Like, for a year I've wanted to talk about this, but I've kind of been upset about, you know, looking like I'm being ungrateful or entitled. But honestly, I don't care, man. This is a problem and I want to talk about it. So I don't know if it's like much of a question to kind of like throw out to you guys, other than like what are your thoughts and feelings about that Twitter thread, and about like, if you're a book reviewer, if you have like a bookish platform, I'd love to know your experiences about like arcs and stuff like that. Again, I kind of don't want the conversation to center around like who is entitled to arcs, because that's not the conversation I want to have. It's more so the fact of that kind of racial disparity that happens with who is reviewing what sorts of books, and it's an important conversation to have. Guys, please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. But I'll see you guys soon in another video soon. Bye.